I think I have a curiosity to see how far the human body can be pushed. Always seeking the limit and always trying to go over the edge. It's thrilling to me.
You have to go through pain. You have to have bad moments in your life in order to be able to stand and end this kind of races.
You've got to go through hell to get to heaven. You can't go as high as I've been unless you're as low as I've been. And I've been in both my life and my running in some pretty deep lows.
Do you believe that there is a hidden power in all human beings?
If you can put yourself in the present moment of time, you can get through almost anything. It's not easy. To quiet your mind takes effort. Listen to your inner heart and see what it is that you most desire and then become that person, and your life will be forever better. I believe in the power of human suggestion, of human kindness, human empathy, especially if it's spoken from a place of authenticity. I know that if you follow your heart, you're going to be happy because I've lived this life.
Γεια σε όλες και όλους. Είμαι ο Απόστολος Κουμαρινός από την ομάδα των theSPEAKERS. Στις 2 και 3 Νοεμβρίου παρουσιάζουμε το Rise 2024. Εκεί μαζί με άλλους υπέροχους, εξαιρετικούς ομιλητές, ανθρώπους που έχουν ξεχωρίσει και έχουν επιτύχει πολλά πράγματα, ο καθένας στο δικό του γνωστικό αντικείμενο, θα κάνουμε συζητήσεις, θα εμπνευστούμε, θα έρθουμε κοντά σε νέα γνώση και θα κάνουμε το επόμενο βήμα. Το όποιο βήμα επιθυμεί κανείς για να αλλάξει. Σε περιμένω λοιπόν 2 και 3 Νοεμβρίου στο ξενοδοχείο Intercontinental. Περισσότερες πληροφορίες μπορείς να βρεις στο site μας theSPEAKERS.gr.
Καλώς ήρθατε σε ένα ακόμα podcast των theSPEAKERS. Είμαι ο Απόστολος Κουμαρινός και κάθε Τετάρτη από τις 5 ώρα το πρωί μπορείτε να βρίσκετε ένα νέο podcast διαθέσιμο σε Spotify και Apple Podcasts, καθώς επίσης και να το παρακολουθείτε εάν θέλετε στην πρεμιέρα που γίνεται την επόμενη μέρα στο κανάλι μας στο YouTube. Αυτό λοιπόν που κάνουμε εδώ στα podcast είναι να θέτουμε κάποιες νέες βάσεις και νέες οπτικές γύρω από το ταξίδι προς τα μέσα μας, από το ταξίδι προς το γνώθις αυτόν. Τελειώνει ποτέ? Μάλλον όχι. Πάμε να ξεκινήσουμε με τον τρόπο μας, με ένα απόσπασμα από ένα βιβλίο, και πριν όμως το κάνω αυτό να σας πω το εξής, ότι αν ακούτε κάτι το οποίο σας αρέσει ή βρίσκεται ενδιαφέρον, θα ήταν πολύ μεγάλη χαρά για εμάς και θα μας βοηθήσετε εάν το στείλετε και σε κάποια άλλα άτομα. Και επίσης έχουμε παρατηρήσει ότι ένα πολύ μεγάλο ποσοστό ατόμων που μας ακούν δεν έχουν κάνει εγγραφή στο κανάλι μας στο Spotify και στο Apple Podcasts. Οπότε αυτό θα σήμαινε πάρα πολλά για εμάς. Αν θέλετε, εγγραφείτε εκεί πέρα, να μεγαλώσει η κοινότητά μας, να μας βοηθήσετε το μήνυμά μας να φτάσει πιο μακριά, και γιατί όχι, αν είναι βοηθητικό, έτσι, περισσότεροι άνθρωποι να ακούσουν για αυτές τις απόψεις και τις ιδέες από τους καλεσμένους μας και από τις συζητήσεις που κάνουμε εδώ. Πάμε να ξεκινήσουμε. Σήμερα, και μιας και πλησιάζει και ο μαραθώνιος της Αθήνας, θα ξεκινήσω με το βιβλίο «Η χαρά του δρομέα» του αγαπημένου μου Κωνσταντίνου Καρνάζη, του Ντίν Καρνάζης, όπου από πάρα πολλά χρόνια πριν θαυμάζω και είναι ένα άτομο το οποίο έτσι με έχει παρακινήσει. Θα σας πω μετά μια ιστορία. Λοιπόν, πάμε να ξεκινήσουμε και έχω ξεχωρίσει στην σελίδα 31 το εξής. Λέει: «Μέχρι να ξεπεράσεις τα όρια δεν ξέρεις πού βρίσκονται αυτά». Καθώς η καριέρα μου ως μαραθωνοδρόμος εξελισσόταν, το αυτό συνέβαινε και στο ίδιο το άθλημα. Το υπερμαραθώνιο τρέξιμο είχε πλέον εισαχθεί στο κοινό λεξιλόγιο και δεν είναι ασύνηθε σήμερα να ακούει κανείς αναφορές σε αυτό στις ειδήσεις ή να διαβάζει για υπερμαραθωνίους στην εφημερίδα. Ταυτόχρονα με αυτή την αυξανόμενη δημοτικότητα, ο αριθμός των συμμετεχόντων μεγάλωνε εξίσου. Το 1993, τη χρονιά του πρώτου μου υπερμαραθωνίου, ήμουν ένας από τους 3.754 τερματίσαντες στη Βόρεια Αμερική. Έως το 2019, ο αριθμός αυτός είχε διωγγωθεί σε περισσότερους από 127.296 τερματίσαντες. Και σε κάποιες χώρες η αύξηση αυτή ήταν ακόμα μεγαλύτερη. Τα τελευταία 23 χρόνια η παγκόσμια συμμετοχή στο άθλημα έχει αυξηθεί κατά 1.676% σύμφωνα με έρευνα της Διεθνούς Ομοσπονδίας Δρομέων Υπεραποστάσεων. Λάβετε υπόψη σας ότι αυτή είναι σχετικά μικρή αριθμή, αλλά το να προσπαθήσεις να στριμώξεις όλους αυτούς τους ανθρώπους σε ένα στενό μονοπάτι στην άγρια φύση αποτελεί πρόκληση. Το άθλημα αντιμετωπίζει άλγη ανάπτυξης, ενώ οι πιο καταξιωμένοι και εμβληματικοί υπερμαραθώνοι έχουν υιοθετήσει συστήματα κλήρωσης προκειμένου να λάβει κανείς μέρος. Στον προπάπο όλων αυτών, τον αγώνα τρεξίματος αντοχής 161 χιλιόμετρων των Δυτικών Πολιτειών, έχει σήμερα κανείς λιγότερες πιθανότητες να γίνει δεκτός από ότι στο Χάρβαρντ. Ο αγώνας των Δυτικών Πολιτειών ήταν ο πρώτος μου αγώνας 161 χιλιόμετρων και θα παραμείνει πάντοτε ο αγαπημένος μου. Το 1994 έκανα την παρθενική μου εμφάνιση σε αυτόν. Στο οπισθόφυλλο λοιπόν του βιβλίου λέει ότι ο Karnazes είναι ο πιο φημισμένος δρομέας υπεραποστάσεων της εποχής μας. Έχει τρέξει σε κάθε γωνιά του πλανήτη υπό τις πλέον αντίξωες συνθήκες και έχει εμπνεύσει εκατομμύρια ανθρώπους, ένας από αυτούς είμαι και εγώ, σε όλο τον κόσμο να φορέσουν τα αθλητικά τους παπούτσια και να αρχίσουν το τρέξιμο. Στη χαρά του δρομέα βλέπουμε τον Κωνσταντίνο Καρνάζη όπως δεν τον έχουμε ξαναδεί, σε έναν από τους πιο απαιτητικούς αγώνες στον κόσμο, στα 100 μίλια των Δυτικών Πολιτειών. Καθώς το σώμα του ζητά απεγνωσμένα ξεκούραση, τροφή και νερό, στο μυαλό του δίνει έναν άλλο εξίσου σκληρό αγώνα, παλεύοντας με τους δαίμονές του. Και ολοκληρώνεται το οπισθόφυλλο με ένα απόφθεγμα του Dean, το οποίο λέει: οι αγώνες τελειώνουν, το τρέξιμο είναι παντοτινό. Και σήμερα έχω την χαρά να καλωσορίσω και θα γυρίσω στην Αγγλική τον ίδιο τον Dean Karnazes. Dean, welcome. It's such an honor for me to be here. Thank you so much for accepting this invitation.
That was a very gracious introduction, and I appreciate it. You are an incredible narrator, so if this book ever gets made into an audiobook in Greece, I'm going to nominate you as the reader.
Wow. Okay. Okay.
You did
Okay.
Nailed it. Yeah.
That would be great. Why not? Why not? So then we discussed before, and the past months we have this communication that I'm not inviting you. I didn't invite you as only that you're someone that I respect, but mainly because you have inspired me. I'm a runner, an amateur runner. Some months ago I did my fourth kind of ultra marathon, 90 kilometers in Rhodope Mountains. And I remember that every time before a big an ultra race, I read your books. And you're a person that I admire because of the many points you have reached so far in the running field. Let's start with something. Why would someone be inspired and run 30, 40, 50, 100 and more kilometers? Why? Why didn't you settle with 3 kilometers or 5 kilometers?
I think I have a curiosity to see how far the human body can be pushed. I think that I'm always seeking the limit and always trying to go over the edge. It's thrilling to me. I thought with running, you can quantify your success or failure. I mean, you sign up for a 160-kilometer race and you take off, and you know if you complete the task when you reach the finish line. If you don't, you know you failed. It's pretty black and white, the rules of engagement, where life is not so clear-cut. You think you're moving in the right direction, and all of a sudden, the finish line changes. But with running, it was just, to me, the purest form of athleticism and knowing that exactly what's expected of you. I think there's a quote by a French philosopher that said, we're most at home in our games because we know what's expected of us. with running. To me, I understand it, and I want to see how far I can go.
How far do you think that you could go when you first started running? What did you have in mind? If you remember that you could reach 40, 50, 30 kilometers, or you started and you were taking it step by step. Let's start from 5, then 10, then 20, then 30.
I used to love to run when I was a young boy. You know, I grew up in Los Angeles, and some of my earliest recollections were running home from school. I remember the bell would ring, and I'd just dash out of the classroom and run home. It was maybe 2 kilometers back to our house. And I ran until I was in high school. We won the championships when I was in my first year of high school. And I thought, okay, that's as far as I'm ever going to take my running career. That's it. So I stopped running when I was 15. And, you know, I went through high school, I went through university, then I went to graduate school, and then I went to business school. And I had a very comfortable corporate job in San Francisco. You know, with all the perks of a corporate job. I had a big paycheck, I had stock options, a company car, all of these things. And on the night of my 30th birthday, I was in a bar, in a nightclub in San Francisco, you know, doing what you do on your 30th birthday. I was drinking with my buddies. And at midnight, I told them, I'm done, I'm leaving. And they said, where are you going? Let's have another round of tequila to celebrate your 30th birthday. And I said, no, instead of that, I'm going to run 30 miles to celebrate my 30th birthday, which is about 50
kilometers, it's 30 miles. And I've read the story in your books, yes. Yeah.
And you know, they looked at me and they said, but you're not even a runner, you're drunk. And I said, I am drunk, but I'm still going to do it. And I walked out of this bar, and I didn't even own running gear at the time. I had on these comfortable silk boxer shorts, these silk underwear. So I took off my pants and I threw them down the alleyway, and I just started running into the night, into the darkness, heading south, knowing there's a town called Half Moon Bay. That was 30 miles away from San Francisco. And I said, just run to Half Moon Bay.
How much hour did you need to get there?
I ran all night. You know, the alcohol wore off after about 10 or 15 kilometers, and I thought, what are you doing? This is ridiculous. But it just felt like it's what I needed to be doing. I felt like God put me on earth to run. I can run. It's the one thing I can do. I don't like being a businessman. Yeah, I'm successful. Yeah, I'm making a la lefta, but I'm miserable. What good is it? But I love to run. This is when I have nothing except the shirt on my back, and I'm alone in the night running. I'm most happy. So I ran all night. It took me maybe 9 or 10 hours. I arrived the next day when the sun was coming up, and I said, I'm quitting my job and I'm going to become an ultramarathoner. And that was over 30 years ago. I'm still doing it.
So then I suppose there are a lot of people that, you know, want to listen their inner self on what they would like to follow in their lives. You say that you were out, you were celebrating with your friends, and there was a voice inside you that forced you or motivated you better to run 50K. Someone would say that you're crazy, that something is not going well. What would you reply to someone that would doubt the force, this power that you had inside you that night? What would you say to someone that you would say, you're crazy. You mustn't go now and run. I mean, like 50K. Who does 50K? I mean, like, sit where you are. What would you reply to someone?
I would reply to them to look inside themselves and say, what are you passionate about? You know, if you could do anything, tomorrow morning, if you could wake up and do anything you wanted, your life was just a fairy tale, what would you be doing? Would you be doing a podcast?
For me, yes. I love it so much.
So you're excelling. I tell people this all the time, and they think, I want to be a chef. Like I could never do this. Yes, you could. If that's what you want to be, you'll be the best chef in the world. So listen to your inner heart and see what it is that you most desire, and then be that thing, that person, become that person, and your life will be forever better. Yeah.
Then I've heard you saying, I've read in your books, you're a best-selling author, you're a motivational speaker, so I follow your work, and you motivate people start running, put exercise in their lives. And I've heard you saying that it's not that difficult. The only thing that you have to do is put one foot in front of the other. Is it that simple, though, at the end of the day?
You know, running is so simple, but it's so complicated as well. I mean, every runner has a relationship with running. It's a love-hate relationship, let's face it.
Totally, yes. I would agree on that.
You know, and no one really likes to run, but everyone likes the feeling after you run. So I think that, you know, running holds a mirror up to you like nothing else. You're exposed. Your shortcomings become apparent to you. And you're faced to reconcile with those. You know, can you keep going? Especially if you try to do something like a marathon, where it's going to try to break you. And there's a point where you're going to say, I can't keep going. And you're going to have that confrontation with yourself and your inner limitations. And for me to overcome those limits that you have that are all in your head, nowhere else, is empowering in everything you do in your life.
Then, how could you combine your family and your obligations that you had with your family back then, and the ultra running and the trainings, and the job till you quit? How did you manage to combine everything and put the time when needed?
I didn't sleep. I mean, my family's always come first, and that's just who I am. You know, being a good father to me was as important as anything in my life. So my kids could see that. And, you know, when kids can see hypocrisy, they can tell if you say, I love you, but if you don't. So they knew I loved them, and I engaged them whenever I could. We traveled around the world. My family, I took them, you know, to Australia, to Argentina. I could go on and on and on. And the kids, now they're grown. My kids are no longer kids. When they look back, these are the best memories of their life, or when we were on the road. Not when we were sitting at home, you know, watching television. It was when we were in some exotic land. Yeah.
Okay, and do you think that through running and through your love and your passion with running, what are the main values that you keep, that you hold with you throughout this 30 years experience with it?
That there's no destination. I mean, it's the journey that really matters. So it's the everyday. It's embracing the high points and the low points. So it's really giving yourself over to life entirely, and knowing that some days you may succeed beyond your wildest dreams. Other days you may be a complete failure, and this is going to happen. And to enjoy the journey, the highs and the lows equally as well. Really embrace the suffering. You know, engage in these emotional lows, and really let that enrich you and make you a better person by getting through these really, really low points, both in your running and in your life.
You have run how many races so far?
I've run, I'm sure over 1,000. I know I've run a few hundred marathons. I mean, I have all my medals. I'm going to count them one day, but every day I say I'm going to count my medals, like I'm doing another race. You know, it's like, thousands. Yeah, at least 1,000, I would say.
Okay, do you remember what was the most difficult one?
I did a 6-day race in a place called Atacama, the desert in South America. It's the driest place on earth, and during the day, the temperatures were up around 45, and at night it was below zero, and it was self-supported. You had to carry everything you needed. So I didn't sleep. I was freezing all night. You're sleeping on rocks on the earth, and then in the day you're just out in this inferno, and you're running 250 kilometers. And, you know, I won, actually, but I don't say I won. I say I survived the fastest.
You won.
I survived the fastest. There was no winning, you know, it's just survival. Yeah.
Okay. For someone that listens to us right now, maybe would think that this is totally, that a human cannot do it. So what is your stance? What are your stands on when someone believes that a human cannot do it, or something is impossible to do it? How do you approach that? I mean, like, aren't you afraid?
I think it's a great challenge to me. It's just, you know, when someone says it can't be done, I mean, when I set out to run 50 marathons in all the 50 U.S. states in 50 days, people said there's no way. Like, you know, it takes people 20 years to run all of those marathons in all of the 50 United States. And I said, I'm going to do it in 50 days. And the only way to know if it's impossible is to try. If I succeed, it's not impossible. If I fail, it is impossible, at least for me. And I succeeded.
This quest of 50 marathons in 50 days, right?
Mm-hmm.
Tell us something about that. Tell us something more about that experience, because still, I think that was the pivotal moment that I've met you and I've learned a lot of things about you. And I had totally in my mind also the great races of the Greek runner of Yannis Kouros and other athletes that are in the ultra running. But and right now, some days ago, we had also a great race from the Greek runner Fotis Simopoulos, an amazing effort, and also a great and amazing effort from Joe Mada. And hopefully we will have her here in one of the next podcasts. So always I had in my mind some athletes that were doing some extraordinary things. Back then I had in my mind Yannis Kouros. So I've learned about your journey, 50 marathons, 50 days. I still cannot actually believe it. So what is your point of view back then for what you did?
Well, Yannis Kouros has been a hero of mine forever. So, knowing running, he's untouchable. I mean, the things he's done, I still think he deserves recognition well beyond his current fame. I think that he's not just a shining beacon for Greece. I mean, he stood on the international stage and crushed everyone. The thing this man did were amazing, and I think scientists should look at him, analyze him,
I would totally agree
dissect him. I mean, it's because I know running, but to a lot of non-runners, when you say, "Boy, this Greek guy ran 188, I think it was 188 miles, the previous record in 24 hours," you can't wrap your head around it because it's just so inconceivable.
Yeah, I think it's something more than 300 kilometers, right?
Yes,
306,
without stopping.
308, something like that.
But when you say you ran 50 marathons in 50 states in 50 days, most people understand a marathon. They might have run one and know I couldn't get out of bed for 2 weeks after running one marathon. Like that's insane. So I don't think what I did was superhuman. Maybe it was, but it was something relatable. I think someone like Yannis Kouros, even Fotis, or Jomanda. I saw her run, 26 hours and 42 minutes of just non-stop pounding, unless you're there to witness it. And even me, who sees these sort of performances once in a while, these breakthrough performances, to watch it happening before your eyes, it gives you hope that nothing is impossible. So, just crewing for her and, knowing what she did, being there and witnessing the whole thing was, for me, so empowering. Yeah.
Yeah, kind of amazing. I was also there for some years with my coach, Nikos Sideridis, and also with Jo on her first effort some years ago. So, yeah, totally yes. And a huge congratulations also to all of the athletes that participated and had the courage to start this race.
Well, in Fotis, he finished this race in just over 20 hours, which is...
it's hopefully we can also have a discussion with Fotis in the future. It's totally amazing. It is out of words what he succeeded.
But he was walking around congratulating finishers. He congratulated Jo when she came through. He was in the medical tent with her.
Beautiful.
You'd think he'd be asleep or in the hospital, but no, he was showered. He was enthusiastic. He was congratulating the other runners. So not just a great athlete, but a really great human being. Yeah, a great champion.
Beautiful what you say about him. Bravo. Then, do you think that you have to go through pain, you have to have bad moments in your life in order to be able to stand and end this kind of races? Or you have another point of view?
No, I have a quote, you've got to go through hell to get to heaven. So I think it's true. I think you can't go as high as I've been unless you're as low as I've been. And I've been in both my life and my running in some pretty deep lows where you're just questioning everything, where you don't want to think about tomorrow. It's so depressing, with especially with DNFs, when you don't finish a race, when you've invested so much of your life into this, you've sacrificed so much, and you don't finish. These kind of things haunt you. You don't remember the great victories, or you do. You have a glass of champagne, but the DNFs, when you don't finish, those stay with you forever.
Do you believe that there is a hidden power in all human beings, independently if they run or not? If they want to excel in something that they love, you believe that there is something inside of them that if they find what they love, they can pursue and can have more possibilities in succeeding at what they chose?
I think that ability is within everyone. Yeah. I think a lot of people don't believe that, and they're told, you can't do this, you can't do that, you'll never be this, and they start to give up hope. But I think everyone has a calling, and if they can just answer to their unique calling, they're going to excel. They might not be the president of the U.S., but they're going to excel whatever it is they love to do.
Do you remember a really bad moment of yours? One of the most difficult moments that you had during running, during a race? And if yes, what happened? How did you get over it?
Yeah,
or I suppose there are many difficult moments, right?
I remember during the 50 marathons in 50 states in 50 days, I had run a marathon in Alaska, which was really cold. It was snowy. And then I flew to Arizona, which is the desert, and it was maybe 42 or 43. And this was Marathon 19. And I thought I was going to not make it through the whole marathon. I mean, there were points where I thought I'm going to just fall over on the concrete. And that night in that hotel after that marathon, I thought, I can't even walk. How am I going to get out of bed and run 31 more marathons in 31 more days? It was so overwhelming, so crushing, that I said to myself, don't think about anything except for just get to the shower. Just take a shower. Okay, you took a shower. Just go lay in bed. Go to sleep. So I went to sleep. I got up the next day. I said, don't think about the marathon. Just splash some water in your face. So I walked over to the sink. I said, okay, make some coffee. Put on your shoes. Lace them up one by one. Just get to the start. And from that point on, I never thought about how many more marathons I had to go. I just thought about being the best Dean that Dean could be in that moment of time. I thought, put on the blinders to the future. Don't think about the past. Just be in the present moment, the here and now, and do the best you can right now. And if you can put yourself in the present moment of time, you can get through almost anything. Our minds are so active. I mean, even now, as we're doing this podcast, I'm talking with you, but you're thinking about what's the next question. I'm planning for this. Like, what am I going to have for dinner tonight? If you can quiet your mind somehow and just focus on the present moment, you can get through anything. I'm convinced.
So that would be an advice that you would give to someone, maybe type of advice, in order to start running or doing more kilometers, you think?
I will say that absolutely yes, but I also say that it's not easy. To quiet your mind takes effort. I mean, most people think I'm just going to go into yoga and my mind's going to be quiet. No, you have to bring your mind back. You have to consciously say to yourself, don't wander, come back to here. Because your mind is going to wander. Mine does it all the time. Even though I've trained myself to do this, I'm always bringing my mind back to the present moment. I'm always saying, don't get distracted, come back to now. But it can be done.
Then I want to share a moment that when I ran for a second time this 82-kilometer race in Rhodope.
I know this race. Nee.
Yeah, you've been you've been there, I believe.
It's not easy either, yeah.
So there was a moment where I decided to stop the race on the 48th kilometer. And I remember that there was another runner that came. And as I had resigned, actually I had said I'm stopping, I saw this beautiful person, Sakis is his name, Sakis Eitanidis. And I remember that he shared the story about running for his daughter because he was at the hospital back then. And so he came to the station, he had water, fruits, and then he left. And the guys that were left behind told me his story, that he's running for his daughter.
And from there, I was also inspired and motivated. I took my number back and I get back to the race. And I finally finished the race with him together. And his daughter, after some months, was quite okay and went out of the hospital. And till now, as of today, we're still in contact with Mr. Sakis. I wouldn't have met this person, or maybe I wouldn't have been inspired if I wasn't also in a big difficulty at that moment. Do you believe that in order to understand more another person's bad moments, or in order to be inspired and motivated, do we also have to be under difficult circumstances? I mean, like, aren't there any gifts in happy, relaxing, easy moments?
I think life is a struggle, and I think that we're never more alive than when we're struggling. I know this for myself. When things are easy, it's not so enjoyable to me. It's you become complacent, lazy. When things are difficult, you feel the fight in you. You feel alive. Unfortunately, I lost my sister when I was a young man. I was 21, she was 18. In our 18th birthday, she was killed in a car accident. But I'll never forget my dad. He started running. He wasn't a runner. And I said, "Dad, what are you doing?" He said, "I'm going to run the LA Marathon." And I said, "Do you know how far a marathon is?" I'll never forget this. He's like, "I'm Greek. I know how far a marathon is." And so he ran the LA Marathon. And that was the only thing I think that saved that man. Yeah, it was his only daughter. She was my best friend. And it was the most shattering thing you could ever imagine. I mean, when the worst thing that can happen to a person is the death of their child, when that happens, when the worst thing that can happen to a parent happens, what do? You're shattered. And he was either going to live the rest of his life in a deep depression, or he found a way out in running. And I'll never forget when he finished that marathon. He was a mess, by the way. He was in the medic tent. He was dehydrated. He was semi-unconscious. This is 1985. No one really knew how to run a marathon. He didn't. But I've never seen a man more content. He was finally at ease with himself. And I thought there's power in what he did. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, I've also read that, something about that in your books. So I have right here your latest book, which is called A Runner's High, right? And in Greek, it's called η χαρά του δρομέα. So you have written so far 5 books?
5 books, nah.
Okay. And we have 3 of them published in the Greek language, right?
Mm-hmm.
With key books.
Key books. Yeah.
So what is this power also about writing books? Because right now I'm writing my first book and it's not an easy procedure. So how come? It seems that you have another power in writing books, huh?
We both like pain. Come on. Yeah, no, I mean, writing is like running. It's 1% inspiration, 99% perspiration. So it's... I like writing my own books. I mean, I know a lot of my friends that are kind of, famous sports entities or whatever, they don't write their own books. I don't think they're capable of it, so they have someone else write it. But I thought, I want this to be authentic, and I'm going to learn how to write. I mean, even if it's bad writing, I'd rather have someone read it, bad writing from me than from a ghostwriter. So I learned to refine my craft. I learned how to write.
I totally enjoy your writing, though, I have to be honest. It makes me see within your eyes, huh? They're amazing, amazing books.
My mom was a literature teacher, and she said, the best writers are the best readers. So I remember that, and I said, okay, where do you start when you start reading? Well, you start with Homer.
Bravo.
And
nice.
The problem is, once you read Homer, you can never read anything else, because you're always comparing it to the Iliad or the Odyssey, and you're saying it's good writing, but it doesn't compare to Homer. I mean, the lyric poets who wrote, these were recited words. The way they the phraseology, just the way they told the story and how Homer put you there by describing a scene so vividly, by engaging all of your senses, telling you how it smelled, the burning bodies, the feel of the air on your skin, the tastes. He really put you in the scenes. And I just thought, if I can use some of these same tools that this man, this 3,000-year-old Greek man used, I could write well. And that's what I try to do.
So from where your parents are coming from in Greece, right?
Yeah, my father's from the Peloponnese, near Tripoli, of Hyodro, called Silimna, and Mitera's from the island of Ikaria.
Bravo.
Yeah.
Okay. So now you're actually back in Greece, right? Living here in Attica. So I was in LA, in California some weeks ago, and I find it so beautiful in Santa Barbara, in Montecito, so beautiful, Beverly Hills. And why would someone from such a beautiful city would come back here? And when I asked before, you told me, I love where I am right now. So what is it about you in Greece? There's a great love, right?
Nay. I think, I grew up in California, and I know this beauty, and it's incredibly beautiful. It's pristine. Everything is well tended. You saw the lawns and the grounds, the beautiful trees, everything. It's too perfect. Greece is flawed. Let's face it. I mean, come on, Greece is everything's a little screwed up here, and nothing's really, there's beautiful things, and all of a sudden there's something not so beautiful right around the corner. And to me, that's how life is. I think that America's too fake. It's too unnatural. We don't live in a state like that. We live like the animals that we are. And Greece, people don't shy away from that. It's more real here to me. It's more real. And the other thing is that the relationships with people here are so different than the U.S. Greeks they're vocal. I mean, Greeks are powerful people. They're physical. They're vocal. They express themselves. They're honest. They don't hold back. There's just something about being in Greece. Unless you're Greek, it doesn't mean, like, I can tell people with my words, being in Greece is just different. Being in Greece is different. I don't know how to articulate it. And people that come to Greece, non-Greeks who visit here, the first thing I ask them, what do you like about Greece? The people.
Yeah,
well, what about
beautiful.
the people? I don't know. They're free-spirited. But the Greeks are unique. And I've traveled all around the world. I mean, I've been on all 7 continents twice. I've been to hundreds of countries all around the world, and there's no culture like Greece. And I think it's the cradle of Western civilization for a reason. I mean, the whole enlightening of the Western mind happened here. And the Greeks that are living here have been, bathed in this for 3,000 years, where the U.S., it hasn't even been 300 years. We're still figuring things out in the U.S. We don't know how to live together. You're seeing it now more than ever. But the Greeks have figured this out. It's taken decades and centuries to figure it out. But the Greeks, I think the German philosopher Goethe said it best. He said, of all the peoples, the Greeks have dreamt the dream of life best. And I think that's it.
So beautiful to have this kind of philosophy and mentality for your home country, even if you grew up in another country. And who would have said that you would come back to Greece after some many years? Then let me ask you something. We know that that people actually are the people that we choose to have close to us are actually the biggest influencers, the most important influencers to us. So I would like to ask you, the people that you have chosen throughout your life to be next to you, how have they influenced your performance, your engagement towards running? If they have.
No, I think it's my parents. I mean, honestly, it's Fotini and Nikos that have most influenced me. And, we've traveled to Greece many times. In fact, some of my best memories in Greece are with the 3 of us together. And I don't think they ever said no to me when I was a boy, for better or for worse. I don't think they ever said, don't do this, you can't do this, no. I don't think that word was ever spoken in my household. They were kind of hippies, back in the day in California, and the 60s and 70s. They were hippies. They were very liberal. The door was always wide open, and I was free to there was no rules. Again, for better or for worse. And it was a safer time back then as well. I could wander, but they let me just follow my passions, and they just were very supportive no matter what. Always supporting me, never saying, don't do this, don't do that, or you shouldn't do this. Just whatever you're going to do, we're behind you. And that kind of positivity, I think, carries over into your life, for the rest of your life. So I'll always be grateful to my parents foremost. Certainly I have role models. I mean, I spoke about Yannis Kouros. There's many other runners I look up to, many other athletes. But you don't know these people so well. Your parents, intimately. You see their flaws, you see their strengths. And my parents, to this day, are still the biggest source of inspiration to me. Yeah.
Beautiful. And for me, what works is that I've seen that throughout my life and throughout my everyday, let's say, routine, that some of the times that I might meet some people that maybe are not, we're not totally really close to each other. Or there are some other times that I meet people and directly from the first moment, from the first minute, I feel directly connected. So I believe that the people not only are the influencers that the people that we choose to have close to us, but also they're affecting our lives in several different ways. Thank God there's the science that have backed up this, have proven this. And there is an application that I use that is called Cove, COVE, that there sometimes that helps me stay connected with people that I admire or people that I respect, even if I get lost throughout the days. So this is something also that happens with you. You're a person that I respect, that I admire. And for me, it's important, even if we can stay in touch, let's say for once every 2 weeks, whatever that is. But it's important, I've seen, to at least exchange, have a short communication with someone that his or her perspective maybe can add up to you or change your perspective a bit. So this is what I've seen through the everyday life. And also this is what I've seen through running, that when I meet someone that wants to, engage with running and wants to do, no matter what, I do not believe only in marathons. I believe and I respect every person that wants to run, 200 meters, 300 meters, whatever that is. So I'm also connected to people that want to start exercising a bit and want to reach their goals in the future. So it's important for me to have these people in my life, and if I can share any moment that I had in the running with them, it would be also ideal for me.
And you're very good at it, by the way. And it goes both ways, right? I mean, you reach out to me periodically and to say, how's it going? I really admire that quality in you.
Thank you so much. I've told you the previous time, there were about 10 or 12 years ago, where you came to Athens with a famous sport brand, and you would give a speech and you would send some autographs. And I had a friend of mine that from a channel that she was, close to the whole organization. And I asked her, could you please get a sign from Dean Karnazes? Mm-hmm. So she made it, and she had a sign from you. And you've written back then, Apostolis, run with your heart and you will never get tired. Mm. And I still have this on my refrigerator, supporting me and motivating me. So do you really believe this?
I do, and I believe in the power of human suggestion, of human kindness, human empathy, especially if it's spoken from a place of authenticity. I know that if you follow your heart, you're going to be happy, because I've lived this life, and you can write this in people's books, you can tell people this, but you've got to live the life. I mean, people can see that, wow, this guy is really like he's still a professional runner.
Yeah.
He's over 60.
Yeah,
like, what the hell? Like, I mean, he's still doing what he loves. There's what can you say bad about that? He's still pursuing his passion, his dream, even as he's an old man.
So is this your advice to the people that will run to the 5K, 10K, and to the Athens Authentic Marathon in some weeks? Run with your heart and you will never get tired?
I think so, and also embrace the suck when
Embrace it, yeah.
When it really hurts, don't run from it. Say, "Oh, this is great! Like this is the worst I've ever felt in my whole life. Can it get worse than this? Can it get But also celebrate that moment when they put the medal around your neck, because that's an experience you'll never forget. Yeah.
Okay, last two questions. Is there an advice that you remember that someone given to you, and you remember it as the worst advice that someone could ever give you?
The worst advice?
The worst. Do you remember something like that?
Yeah, it was probably when I was a teenager, when someone said, "Here, try this," and they handed me some tequila. That was bad advice.
Okay. That was the last time that you had tequila?
No, that's the problem. It's kind of become a lifelong thing where I still have tequila. Yeah.
Okay. But you didn't like it back then, I suppose.
No, I got very sick. Yeah.
Okay, and then before we say one or two things about for you being our guest speaker in this annual 2-day event that we have, it's called Rise, on November 2nd and 3rd. Before we say one or two things about that, I would like to close with this. There's this quote of us on the mag saying kings or pawns, right? Bravo, exactly. And this quote comes from Napoleon Bonaparte. And from the moment that I've read it in the Count of Monte Cristo novel, it's always in my mind. So what do you believe about that? Do you agree? Do you disagree? What's your stand on kings or pawns? In life, we are either kings or pawns.
I think that's very binary to me. I think that some days you're kings and some days you're pawns. I think that that's not a bad thing either. I think we can be both at the same time.
Beautiful. I think this also goes for me the past period of time that I'm trying to get out of the either one or the other. And yes, thank you so much for our today's discussion. We will be together on November 2nd and 3rd on our annual motivational event that is called Rise in Intercontinental Hotel. There we will have a discussion. You'll have a speech. Thank you so much for making it and being there.
Yeah, I'm very much
looking forward to that, to listening to you. And you've been, as I told you before, my power, my motivational power in order to do more stuff and keep going. And
it goes both ways. You've done the same for me, and you've been very supportive of me. Even reading the passage of my book was so oreo, it was so beautiful.
I totally enjoy your books because I respect you and your effort. So yeah. Let's hope that we will keep reading your books and running, and maybe we still have a run to go together. Okay, you owe me a run. Okay, so
be careful what you ask for.
You're right.
I got my running shoes on
You're
right now.
I've got my running shoes also in my car. So then, thank you so much. And θα ήθελα να σας ευχαριστήσω όλους σας. Πολύ μεγάλη χαρά σήμερα για εμένα να έχουμε έναν διεθνή ομιλητή και έναν άνθρωπο που έχει καταφέρει τόσα πολλά πράγματα όπως ο Karnazes. Τον γνωρίζω και με έχει εμπνεύσει από πιο μικρή ηλικία, όταν ήμουν πιο μικρός, και δεν περίμενα θα τον γνωρίσω κάποια στιγμή από κοντά, οπότε πολύ χαρούμενος γι' αυτό. Ευχαριστούμε πάρα πολύ την Keybooks που ήταν σήμερα μαζί μας. Ευχαριστούμε και εσάς, το χρόνο σας, την αγάπη σας, οτιδήποτε αφιερώνετε εδώ. Δεν θεωρούμε τίποτα δεδομένο. Εάν αυτό το οποίο ακούσατε το βρίσκεται ενδιαφέρον, μπορείτε να το στείλετε σε κάποιον φίλο ή φίλη, να το δείτε στο κανάλι μας στο YouTube και στο Spotify και στο Apple Podcast. Κάθε Τετάρτη από τις 5 ώρα το πρωί ένα νέο επεισόδιο. Και αφού ενυδατωθήκαμε εδώ και πήραμε και αρκετό νερό, νομίζω ότι έχουμε δύναμη να κλείσουμε μαζί με τον Dean με τον εξής τρόπο. Then what we usually do is that we close together with our guests, saying till next time keep speaking, as we are the speakers. But I think we can say this time till next time keep running.
I knew where that was going.
So can we say it together? 1, 2, 3? Okay, 1, 2, 3. Till next time, keep running.